The Pope, early on in early Christianity, commissioned the great scholar Jerome to translate what existing scripture there was into Latin, which is known as the Vulgate Bible.
One of his instructions to Jerome is to figure out which of the many, many translations he had of the Gospel of Matthew should be used. There were many.
Canonization is the process that determines what is written into the Bible. Canonization therefore affects the nature of various Christian religions.
So few people are aware that the popular King James Version is not the only canonized Bible. There are actually 4 plus a variety of offshoots.
The Western churches pretty much agreed on the New Testament canon by about 400, but there was still this problem that the Eastern churches didn't like Revelation and the Western ones didn't like Hebrews, and they finally ironed it out, and by 600 more or less they were able to do the horse trade and get an agreement on that.
The canonizing process was instead a function of an oral, illiterate church where the pastor or the bishop or somebody who knew enough to read out loud to us by the hour, what should that person read? Is this book good stuff to read, or is this book going to mislead the people, create problems, doubts, and so forth?
The original issue was not what stories to put into the New Testament, but what to read out loud in church.
And when you see what they put in the Bible, you see they still didn't quite know. They sometimes would add a couple of books which they shouldn't have, which we don't have in the New Testament. So that there was a little fluidity as to the exact list.
The Western Bible, the one we are more familiar with, was translated from Aramaic and Hebrew to Greek, to Latin, to German, to English, and so on and so on. A recent scholar, George Lamsa, decided to publish the Eastern Orthodox Bible from Aramaic, the spoken language 2,000 years ago, directly to English in order to avoid all of the translation errors. The problem was that he could not find a publisher in the United States.
Eventually, he was successful.
He found a publisher that said he would publish it with under one condition, and what's that? It's that they add the book of Revelation to it. So this explains why when I went through both of these Bibles, the Eastern and Western versions, word by word, and found all these differences, until Revelation, I found not a difference in the world. All she did was copy the prevailing stuff from the day.
One of the many reasons the Eastern Orthodox Church opted to omit Revelation from its canonized Bible is because it depicts Jesus exactly opposite as do the Gospels. Revelation has Jesus mounted on a white horse, dressed in a white robe, dripping with blood, and with a sword in his teeth, getting ready to smite nations. Hardly the love your enemies and turn the other cheek. Apologists' explanations for this are inadequate.
The latest scripture, actual scripture that we have from Jews is about 1,000 years old.
It was in Jewish tradition that when a copyist would copy one Bible as being worn out, they would discard the old one. So we do not have a succession of evidence that would show what changes could have occurred over the years, until the Dead Sea Scrolls, which generally date between 150 BCE and 70 CE.
When somebody says that their religion is based on the canonization, they are probably not even aware that there are other canonizations that differ from their particular beliefs.
So you should just remember that canonization is no astounding event, some earth-moving, earth-shaking procedure. It's what the church says goes into the Bible at that time. And as the years change and other things changes, there are adaptations to it.